Good evening, Central Indiana, and welcome to Porch. I'm with your host, Kevin Coriel. We have a large gathering of folks in here tonight, and we will get to them momentarily. First, I'd like to say thank you to our sponsors. You are such a rookie, Beth.
Sorry.
You left your phone on.
I thought it was down. Sorry.
Sorry, folks. I don't even have a camera on me tonight. I tried. They wouldn't let me, so I fought hard for a camera. Beth said narrate. It's whatever. I'll narrate fine. Anyway, tonight we have a large gathering of people in here to discuss some very important stuff. But real quick, American Basement Solutions, thank you so much. Wellspring, we just did a fundraiser for. Happy to have them as a sponsor. Just Winging It, where you can get your fine porch time apparel. Reps Fitness, where I have yet to walk into in the past 9 months. I'm just saying. I did not expect a laugh out of that at all. Wow, tough crowd. Bland & Boys Lawn Care, who have taken great care of my yard this year. And a few new ones. Judge Williams, findhelp.org. We appreciate that. As soon as our IT guy gets back from traveling the planet, we will have everything put on. Stid's Comfort Air, who keeps it nice and cool in here, despite some of the grumblings from some of the guests. We don't care. No, I'm teasing. All right, the large group in here. It is the Showalter PCE project group. We are going to let Bethany introduce folks. There's people waiting in the wings to talk a little bit later. Please like and share this. This is vital stuff for our community. So if we can't get it out, nobody's going to know. It is up to you, the viewers, to get it out to them. We need your help. This whole show is about educating people and getting more people involved in this. Is that right, Beth? Did I do good there?
That's correct.
I got a head shake, so I think that's right. All right, Bethany, can you introduce? I'm the narrator, but you're going to have to be the introducer.
Can't just go.
We can. Go ahead. I'm Bethany.
So I'm Bethany Latham, and I'm a community member involved with the Showalter Project. So I am part of the task force.
Talk louder.
Oh, because I don't have a microphone, do I?
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
needed.
Bethany Latham here. I am part of the task force, community member. Just wanted to help out with this project and maybe some upcoming projects. And here, this side of me is...
I'm Teresa Messmer, and I too am a member of the task force of the Showalter Project. So I'm glad to be here and to help out with this project.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Wessler, and I'm also a task force member and a community person here in Martinsville, born and raised in Martinsville my whole life, so I'm happy to help.
Hi, this is Liu from Purdue University. I speak to represent a group of researchers behind the scene from Purdue University, from Indiana University, from University of Indianapolis, as well as University of Illinois at Chicago. And I also want to add one sentence about today's main purpose is about Showalter Project. However, we have two projects from Purdue University as well as jointly with this community going on, and we are going to split time at the end of today's show time to introduce the other project. Please stay tuned on this. Thank you.
I'm Tom Wallace. I started the Martinsville Superfund Side Association about 5 years ago, and started working with Saul from Purdue a couple years ago. So Saul and I are the co-investigators on the Showalter Project here.
Hello, I'm Kathy Thorpe. I'm one of the community task force members, and I'm just really happy to try to be able to help the situation taken care of down here.
I'm Neil DeLapp. I'm a former research associate from Eli Lilly and Company, now retired, and I've lived in Morgan County for about 50 years. I'm a member of the task force, and I'm a community institutional research board coordinator. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
You have a lot of stuff to go over tonight. I don't know who's speaking first, Doctor? Or is it...
Bethany, please. Everyone's calling Bethany.
I'm just here for fun.
This great group here, we've been on,
Hang on.
What?
I want to remove that. Oh, is that, wait a minute,
What are
is
we
that someone
removing?
you guys?
Marwan, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I thought somebody
He's
had
with us.
hacked us.
Nope, we're good. So,
Ready.
so we have been on Porch Time here before, but for anyone who didn't catch that show or hasn't seen our Facebook page or our website, a little bit about this project here is we're studying. I always get tripped up here. The purpose of the study is to see how low-level PCE chemical exposure may affect children's neurological, behavioral performances, such as paying attention, memory, school performance, interacting with others.
So the goal is to test 110 children between the ages 6 and 11 who live within the MSD of Martinsville School District.
It is.
That's your,
Is that your turn?
It says your line. Participants are needed. So they need volunteers, folks. They are needed
Yes.
and are now being recruited for this important study. Teams consisting of Purdue researchers and Martinsville Community Task Force members of the Showalter PCE project will be door knocking in all areas of the city in search of participants. You can also sign up online on their Facebook page or their website. And this is where it says, Kevin, please show slide. So I'm going to post that there.
Yeah, so we've been working really hard.
Hello, Ebony.
We've been working really hard lately to get the word out about this project. We've spent some time, developing flyers and passing out those flyers, spending a lot of time at the farmers market, and other events that have gone on around here, here in Martinsville, and just trying to get the word out about the project. And now we are actually ready to start recruiting, ready to start having parents sign up their children.
Let me read that again, Beth.
Okay.
The purpose of this study is to see how PCE chemical exposure may affect children's neurological behavioral performances, such as paying attention, memory, school performance, and interacting with others. The goal is to test 110 children between the ages of 6 and 11 years old who live in the MSD of Martinsville School District.
Right.
Participants are needed. So that's you guys out there in the audience. Participants are needed and are now being recruited for this important study. So if you live in this school district and you have a child between the ages, or children between the ages of 6 and 11 years old, contact this group and become part of hopefully the solution on down the road. Did that help?
Yeah.
Okay. So Stephanie,
Thank you so much.
I know something, and just kind of hit on this real quick. I know there's something in the water bill today that hit a bunch of the houses that breaks down some of the stuff in the water. And
Right.
this is stuff you guys are working on, correct?
That's right. I just brought this to Dr. Liu today. We actually found this in our water bill, so it'll be in your water bill as well. And it breaks down all of the water quality that we have. It's the 2020 water quality report, and it shows like at our city how much of each substance is in our water. So you can actually take a peek at that. And like we said, we're looking for children ages 6 through 11. And if you see anybody walking around with these shirts
You're not on screen right now.
oh, well, you'll see our shirts in just a minute. That's okay.
Sorry.
Hang on, he'll get you back on it.
There
There
you
you go. There you go.
All
Now
right.
show your
If
shirt.
you see anyone walking around with these shirts on, knocking on doors, feel free to answer your door. We're just trying to come and get some information. We're trying to look for participants. Actually, on my own personal Facebook page, as well as the Martinsville Purdue PCE page, there have become a lot more questions. So it's good. If you have questions, feel free to ask us. We'll answer it the best that we can. And if we can't answer it correctly, then we will direct you in the right direction. Yes, Kevin?
So how evasive is the test? I mean, these are our children you're talking about, and people are going to be apprehensive of doing that with their kids. So how evasive is the test? What all's involved? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah.
That's an
Well,
excellent question.
It is. It is a really good question. And actually, part of the test is going to be just an iPad test that the children are going to do. And the parents will have a little test to do on our iPad as well to fill out about their children. And then the only physical thing that you have to do is they're going to measure your exhaled breath and see if there are any chemicals in your exhaled breath. And actually, my children and I all have done this test before, and it's just like a straw with a bag on the end, and you just blow into it, and then they capture your exhaled breath, and then you can get the results at a later date.
Thank you very much. That was very helpful.
So nothing invasive.
No.
Is are waiting on me to ask another question? Are you serious?
I really appreciate. Let me say something. I really appreciate Stephanie, bring this water bill to us today. And Tom and I just glanced through, and we see lots of positive signs on this newly improved water bill. For example, based on suggestions people made to City Council, and now we actually see the PCE concentration reported on this water report. And also on the backside of this report, it says, it explains what is PCE, tetrachloroethylene, and is my water safe? So this information, wow, right?
Yeah.
First time seeing this. Way to go, city.
That's
and
very transparent of the city to be doing that. That's deeply appreciated.
The city's definitely. The city has definitely, sorry, Teresa, has been a partner with this group here. I haven't even checked it, but we're probably on the website, right? So if you go to the City of Martinsville website, cityofmartinsville.in.gov, at the top there's a green section where they'll put buttons, put links up there for announcements. And so there's a button up there right now to learn more about this project. So Mayor Costin and everyone at the city has been really helpful with helping us try to get information out to the community.
Can I say something?
Sure. Let me pass it and back to Stephanie.
Also, in our water bill not too long ago, there also was more information come through. So when you get your water bill, then be sure to read all of the information that you get inside, because a lot of it could be about our project or anything like that. Also, the MSD of Martinsville has been a good partnership for us, and you're actually getting ready to get some emails if you're a parent of a child in our school system, and it'll come from Jane Burke, our HR person, and she's going to be giving some information maybe about how you can get your child into the study and if you qualify for our studies. So just keep an eye out on your email, even though it's summertime.
I want to hit on this again. The purpose of the study is to see how low-level PCE chemical exposure may affect children's neurological behavioral performances, such as paying attention, memory, school performance, and interacting with others. The goal is to test 110 children between the ages of 6 and 11 years old who live within the school district. Participants are needed and are now being recruited for this important study. So how do I get a hold of you guys? Let's say I've got 3 kids between the ages of 6 and 11. I might be pushing it, but how do I get a hold of you guys if I want to get my children tested? Are you guys going to come to us? Do we come to you? Is there tests you're going to perform in our houses?
Who wants to take that one? Teresa?
Teresa hasn't spoke yet.
Teresa wants to talk. Oh, now is when you need to put up that picture, because it has the
Oh,
that
I'm
it
sorry.
has the web address and all that. There you go.
Cued me a little better, and there it is. Go ahead, Teresa. I'm sorry.
You're going to sign up on our Facebook group or at the project website, and all of those are appearing on the screen right now. But this should have come in your water bill, not this bill, but the previous bill. You should have gotten a flyer in the in your email or in your water bill, and that gives you all the email addresses, the an invitation to go to the Zoom event, and that's every Thursday at 8 p.m. If you want to join us, you can hop on and see what we're talking about and make comments and potentially join our group. That's always important because we need more resources, more hands in the community to be able to man all of the events that go on throughout the summer and the fall. And then you can also just help spread the word by sharing this and liking and sharing the website, being able to get the word out and making sure that people know about it.
I have a question from Wendy. Okay, time out. Yes, you want the kids tested. Most of the kids being tested have parents that have lived in the Ville their entire life. Can they be tested as well? Or are you just looking to test kids?
Bring it close to you.
Yes, for this project, we are going to only test children. However, parents are also recruited to fill in an iPad-based test to describe their children's behavior activities. We have a grant going to National Institute of Health, NIH, and we got a good score. If that grant is selected to be funded, that project is going to also test parents, adults. About 300 adults are going to be recruited in that project. So stay tuned on multiple projects coming into this community. Did I answer the question?
You did.
I think so.
Right.
I do have a question. The goal is to test 110 children between the ages of 6 and 11 years old.
Right.
And some of the signs that you'll be looking for are paying attention, memory, school performance, and interacting with others. But what leads you to those signs? Because many... What are you doing?
Lower it a little bit.
Oh, it has to shoot over the top of mine on a normal show. Sorry. Many of those signs are what 6 to 11-year-old kids do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they don't pay attention. I had 3 that were that age. And during the COVID time, interacting with others was probably limited to social networking. So why these signs? Is this a study that has been done prior to?
No, this research has never been conducted before. But that's where Dr. Cook comes in.
Okay.
He was on our show the last time.
I remember.
We
I was trying to segue to
we
this,
had
just
him
like-
on the iPad. So he's the clinical psychologist. And of course he can answer that question a lot better than we can.
Yeah, he was on the
But-
show with the iPad.
Yeah,
and
we kind
did
of
go
just
into
held his
detail.
head up here, but can either of you answer that question?
Yeah, I can say something about that. Tom, you want to say something?
Talk close.
Okay. All the tests are part of the National Institute of Health Behavioral Toolbox. And it's a RAT5 and a Basic 3 that assesses and monitors reading, spelling, and math skills. And then emotional and behavioral varieties based upon parents' input. So there's 2 aspects. There's the child's aspect and the parent's aspect of their relationship with the child. So you can go and see exactly what's being tested on the NIH.gov website, and you hit their behavioral toolbox, and the entire testing process is there.
Right, and when we get the results, when we get the results, like the main thing that we want to do is we want to inform the community about any health impacts that this might have, and we're going to try to identify potential risk to our community members, and I guess the parents will get the results if they request the results, and all of the other personal information will be kept confidential. So, and if you are an adult and you do want to be tested, then you can go to the EPA is going to start testing pretty soon, I believe, from their website. Do they just have to sign up from their website? The EPA, the IDEM?
But that's only if they live on the Superfund site.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's it.
vapor intrusion, that's another.
Right, and I think one of the confusing things for us has been trying to figure out the maps of where these plumes actually are. The Superfund site, when we have certain maps, there are maps on the EPA, there are maps on our Facebook group. So if you're interested to see about where those maps are, just look on our Facebook page and you'll get more information about where all of these potential chemicals are.
Wendy has another question. I would just say that my daughter herself went to Poston. Now her child could be infected as well by her mom, by where she lives. Is it inherited? Anybody want to answer that?
It's not inherited. PCE and TCE are not inherited. They're environmental exposure. One other thing I want to say. Oops. Okay.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I want to say that this study is the first one to measure the low-level contamination of PCE long-term exposure. Acute exposure has been measured in the past, but this is the first study that measures long-term low exposure to these chemicals.
Yeah, so short-term high exposure has been studied, like Neil was just saying, and has shown deficits to neurological behavior.
Right.
So, but like we said earlier, this study has never been, and that was on adults.
And the workers.
Right. So workers who are exposed to high levels while they're at work, but then they go home at night, and so they're away from that exposure. They come back the next day, or it's over the weekend, and they are not receiving that exposure. So they're able to rebound. But this is to test the children who live in homes that may be receiving vapor intrusion, or at their school, or and then this very small amount that's in our water. If you're just constantly being exposed to low levels, we're trying to see if there's a correlation between this low level exposure and neurological behavior performance.
I have a question.
Yes, Kevin.
Thank you. It's a two-parter. If I don't have any kids, can my home still be tested? And also, like you said, the maps are a little hard to read at times. If I don't live in the plume area, can my house still be tested, or my kids still be tested, or things like that?
Well, there are a handful of plumes.
I understand that.
If you're living on the Superfund site, contact the EPA. If you are not, you contact Indiana Department of Environmental Management, right? IDEM? Is that correct?
For home testing?
Yes.
No, you can directly contact the engineers that are handling the cleanup site. Wilcox Engineering is handling the O'Neill plume, and they're very progressive and very great on doing vapor intrusion testing, so you can contact them directly. And get a hold of us, and we can give you their email directly, so if you're in that plume. Twigs also
contact you guys to get that information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Twigs also has been doing vapor intrusion testing, and IDEM has mandated that they continue doing that. So if you're in the Twigs area, that also can be done. Also, IDEM is working to get Twigs to pay for hookups to city water if we find a well in the area that's contaminated that someone is using privately.
I think there are some wells still in the city, within the city limits. I'm not going to pinpoint where, but I have heard of some.
We're going to talk about some of that toward the end of this show.
Okay.
Because that's another project, so we are going to talk about that. But yeah, if you're not able to watch the rest of the show tonight, but if you have a private well, get a hold of us, because that's going to be our other project, and we need you for that as well. But Sa, you have something to say?
Yes, thank you for the response on this question. We are talking about multiple things all at the same time, like going to agencies, get home tested, and testing wells through our other projects, and also potentially testing wells through agencies program. However, I want to come back to this original question. We are not only going to recruit children and family living on the plume, we are also recruiting children living outside plume areas. Anyone want to say something about that?
The children that live outside of the plume area, are children that we need to use as kind of a control, that these children aren't exposed to these levels of contamination versus the children that do live on these plumes. So that way we can kind of compare the levels as to if there's anything or what the level is and so forth.
There you go. Teresa, do you have anything you want to say? She covered it.
And also, one more thing to add. Thank you, Kathy, for explaining that. Another thing is we actually do not know the extent and the level of exposure, how widely exposure spread in the community. So children living outside plume and anyone living outside plume could potentially be exposed by working in the plume area or attending school in the plume area or visiting contaminated buildings with indoor air elevated concentration through vapor intrusion. So we do not know. That's why we want to recruit and include children not only in the plume area but also outside, so we can see if you have different exposure level, whether that related to different performance in tests. That's the way we can see whether there is any association. So we do appreciate include people from different areas throughout the city.
Again, we are talking to Dr. Sao and the Showalter PCE project group. The goal and the purpose of tonight's event is to recruit 110 children between the ages of 6 and 11 years old that live within the school district of Martinsville. These participants are needed now to being recruited for a very important study, and that's why this group is here. They've been doing this for a while, knocking on doors. You've seen them at the farmers market. I know Artie Fest is coming up. You're going to be there. I know the fair is coming up. You're going to be there. Get a hold of these folks. This is vital stuff. I know I lost my mom and dad to cancer, and they lived right here in town. I'm not saying that was a reason, but there's something going on. There's way too many cases of that in the community, and if we can cut it off these kids right now and get them safe, we'd be saving lives in the long run, is my opinion. So, I didn't mean to step on you guys' toes.
You're good. You're good. You have another question, Kevin? Do we have any questions up there? Hi, Krista.
Krista Royal said, thank you all.
That's
I know when dealing with children, you want to have some sort of confidentiality. How is that being handled? And how can you put the parents at ease? Because, I mean, you're testing their kids for something, and how can you put their mind at ease for that?
Okay, two things that come to my mind is that the iPad questions are being asked by two young ladies who have experience with children, and they say it's very enjoyable for the children to take these iPad tests. And as far as the environmental exposure, that data will be de-identified and will be kept only seen by Dr. Liu at a lockbox in Purdue University. And it will be destroyed eventually in July when the study ends.
Yes. Yeah, next summer. Yeah, when this project is complete, then all of the information will be destroyed.
Yeah, we follow all Purdue Institutional Research Board regulations, and that align with the Federal Code of Regulations. And we have to keep all the information confidential, and we assign any participants a participant ID, and we detach any personal information from data we are collecting. For example, all the test results, no matter as exhale breath or as iPad performance test, all those information will not be linked to person's name, email, phone number, or address. It will only be linked to a participant ID. And as other people said, by the end of this study next year, this time, this map will be destroyed, and there is no way to link back the data with any personal to any individuals. So those are the some of the ways we protect confidentiality.
So you're doing online signups, and we'll start knocking on doors in about a week, around July 17th. And like I said, you're going to be at Artie Fest and the fair and everywhere else. They need 110 children between the ages of 6 and 11 years old, so they can be tested for this. And the test sounds very simple, non-invasive. And Stephanie, you've had your children tested, you said. Mm-hmm. Has anybody else had children or grandchildren, not aging anybody, but tested in the community, in the room? Is Stephanie the only one?
Yeah, my children, I have 3 children, 19, 17, and 13, and we've all been tested. It's a super easy test to blow into, and they just capture your breath. So I guess one of the reasons why I think that this is so important, one of the reasons why I'm on here, is because I think if this contamination has been here for so long, and we know this, I oftentimes wonder, why didn't they try to take care of this years ago? But then one of the things that I've learned is that it took science and technology like a long time to catch up with the awareness for our community. And it said the EPA was put together in like the 1970s, and it's allowed us to test the water, air, and soil. And then what happens is it's taken as a generation for us to completely understand their impact on us. And this project, just like other projects that are going on, is just a way for us to begin to shed light on this subject matter. And because I did have a PCE in my breath, I think it's super important. I don't even live inside of a plume, so I'm anxious to see what results are going to come our way.
So what do you think, or any of you people on the panel, doesn't that sound so cool?
Task force.
Does anybody on the task force feel what do you think is the cause of the PCE? You didn't always live in the city limits.
I didn't.
How long have you lived at your current residence?
I've lived with my current residence for almost 5 years.
So how long have you lived in the city, within the city limits total?
Just 5 years.
5 years.
Before that, though, I had.
And we won't give your address, but you live on the west end of town.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And before that, I had a different water source. And then before that, I had a different water source. But the old water source that I came from, that I lived in for a long time, was also pretty, it's contaminated as well. So, and unfortunately, I kind of have a personal interest story because my husband passed away of cancer 11 years ago. So that also obviously puts me in, and this is why that I want to get this information out. We can start helping people right away so that other people aren't affected exactly the way that we were.
But I also want to point out that our water department is doing what is required by the EPA, and I know that some say that, or the pamphlet shows some contamination in the water, but it is below the limits required by the EPA. So I don't want people to think,
Right.
hey, we're drinking, everything's legit as far as the EPA is concerned.
Right.
Okay.
We're under the allowable limit of PCE in the Martinsville water. At least my water is. I just think that no amount of PCE is good for anyone to drink.
Right. Well, that's debatable. I agree with you 100%. But our water department was doing what they were taught. I think they were going above and beyond when Scotty was in there with the filtration system to knock it down below the levels of the
Right.
EPA.
Right.
I don't want people panicking at night and dumping all their water out, but
Yeah.
Yes,
it is what it is.
I do want to add on that, based on EPA's investigation and the preliminary data we collect, and we think the major challenge the community is facing, one is vapor intrusion. So this contamination get into the indoor air and people inhale in, and it is a more because you inhale, it goes into the lung and goes into the bloodstream, compared to if you drink in, it goes into the stomach and liver and detoxic effects. So inhalation is more toxic pathway, and also we know the indoor air concentration in certain area can be pretty high. So vapor intrusion is one major threat or exposure pathway, and the other one is private well, people drinking untreated water. So this is clearly stated in EPA document, and our research group from Purdue University do agree with this conclusion. City water, drinking water is not the major concern, and instead the major concern is vapor intrusion and private well water.
So how does the vapor intrusion, how does it take place? Where does it come from, and then does it just seep in your house naturally? Or what are we talking about on that? Anyone on the panel?
Well, most people are familiar with radon, and what a radon test is simply exactly the same process. It gases out, the vapors come up through the soil, enter through your basement, and it'll accumulate within the walls of the house. And the testing is pretty simple. The canister will put it in for 24 hours. You will take an air sample. If you exceed a threshold, then you can have a vapor extraction system put in, which is essentially just like a radon system. Now, the EPA is going to be sending out, I think they've identified 240 houses within the Superfund site plume. Now, between August and October, they should be sending out a postcard to everybody that they have identified. So if you get a postcard from the EPA between August and October saying, we've targeted your house, you're in the Superfund site, do respond to them, because they will come in and they will test your house. And testing will probably start in January of next year. If your house exceeds the threshold, then they will pay to put in a remediation system in the house.
Wendy's wanting to know what the limits are on the PC in the water, and how far we're below the limit. I don't know that.
Yeah, she's wanting to know how, as far as water. Yeah.
It says it.
It says it on the bill.
The pamphlet,
In the pamphlet. It's on the pamphlet, Wendy.
But she doesn't know what the limit is, so she doesn't know how far under the limit we are. Is it?
Well, it really doesn't say how far under. It just says we are at the level. It doesn't give you the actual amount that's in the water.
That was the old one.
So-
Right now, this new one, it does say
Turn the mic to you.
the standard for PCE, tetrachloroethylene, is 5 ppb. That equivalent to 5 microgram per liter. It's like how much? 5 drops into a swimming pool. So that is EPA drinking water standard. And right now, based on this water report, the level detected is 0.6. So drinking water standard is 5. And right now, it's 0.6.
So well below.
It's almost 10 times lower.
Yeah. So it's well below the acceptable limit by the EPA, Wendy.
Now, if you're on your water bill that just came, they do have a link on here directly to the EPA website that shows all of the regulations, the contaminants, and what the allowable thresholds are. So
Good stuff.
when you get your water bill, click on that link, you can go right there and you see exactly everything at the EPA.
Good information. Very good. And congrats to the city for being transparent with that and put it in the water bill. Thank you so much.
I just want to point out again what's already been pointed out before, and that is that we don't know yet whether the long-term low-level
Sure.
exposure will differ at all will correlate between those that live on the plumes and those that don't.
Anyone else have anything else to add or say?
And also, what new for this study is we are measuring PCE, TCE in people's exhale breath. It actually captures all exposure from different exposure pathways, no matter it's inhaled or ingested from water, or dermal. If water is contaminated, you taking shower and your skin contact that, or you are using wild water doing laundry, and you could inhale the vapor. So no matter what the exposure pathway, if this compound gets into your body, 95% of what gets into your body, you exhale them out. So this testing exhale breath can actually capture all this, and this becomes a very powerful tool for us to evaluate people's exposure at low level, and we can measure different health outcome, see if outcome is related to this exposure. And this has not been done in community settings. Like other people point out before, is all the studies have been performed to look at workers' exposure at high level, mainly through inhalation. And we are looking at low concentration, long-term exposure from different exposure pathways. That's the unique part of this study. And also, at the early time, I was listening to one of Porch Time show, and Kevin was interviewing other community members. And Kevin said it takes a whole community, every member in the community, to clean up the community. So I really appreciate that comment. It is because we have this fabulous group, task force members. We've been working together in the past 5-6 months.
Yeah.
And we meet on every Thursday and almost never missed a single Thursday.
I'm actually honored that you watched one of my previous shows, Doc, and caught me saying something profound. So
this is a very fun, interesting show, and I watch it whenever I got notice. I look. So
some of our shows you probably do not want to watch. The 9 o'clock later hour when it's the four of us in here having fun. If Beth's not on air and it's just the guys, yeah, you can go ahead and turn it off.
Oh, no, I know. I'll pay
Probably
special
best.
attention.
Yeah,
So
right.
I was wondering if Tom would talk about some possible positive or negative aspects of of the testing as far as when it coming to the school system.
To the community as a whole.
Yeah, to the community.
Well,
or,
the
well,
community,
to the,
huh?
yeah.
Well, I think Stephanie brought up the fact that this has been going on for literally decades. We have 4 plumes in the city. We can trace one of them back to the 1960s. So literally it's been going on for 60 years. The Superfund site started in 1987 with Masterware. Masterware was only there from 1987 to 1991. And in that 3-year time period, we wound up with the Superfund site that we have.
Crazy.
So we have this been going on for essentially 3 generations now. And like we've referred to several times already, it's low-level, long-term exposure. All the other exposure testing has been generally industrial. It's very short term in industrial setting at higher concentrations. But there's never been a test before where you're looking at low level, long term concentrations that is effectively affecting an entire community. And so, does this build up? You know, someone mentioned, can you pass this on generationally? Well, no, you can't pass it on generationally, but when you're looking at children and how susceptible they are, and they have no immunity to this whatsoever, then we do have some greater concerns. And one element about PCE is that it does have a tendency to accumulate in breast milk. So if you are pregnant in Martinsville and you're breastfeeding and you're living on a plume, and if PCE is accumulating in your breast milk and you're feeding your child, you're passing on a higher concentrated dose to the most susceptible creature on the planet. So
There's a lot going on up there.
There's a lot going on up there
for young
at
children.
that stage,
Yes.
and and there's zero immunity to virtually any level of PCE. But if it's a concentrated dose going directly into your feeding, then we have some issues there that we need to start looking at. And there's been several studies on that already, and we have all that listed on our websites if you want to look at specific studies about lactation and PCE accumulation. So we do have the data on that.
So,
But when we're looking at this, we're 3 generations now, and looking at our outcome, how has it affected our community? If I were to look at the schools' budgets for how many teachers did we have 30 years ago in our school system for special ed, and how many dollars was dedicated towards special ed 30 years ago?
not much.
And I look at today, the same school system, same number of students, how many special ed teachers do we have, and how much money are we paying out for that? You'll see there's a huge difference.
Huge increase.
Huge.
But I mean, is that you could probably look at that nationwide and determine other factors that play into that as well.
You can, but he has looked at that.
I'm not disputing
No.
that.
Yeah.
I'm casting a line here. It's
Yeah.
called-
Sorry. Sorry, Kevin. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, he's
Jeez,
right. There's a
Beth.
lot of factors that play in, but when we look at locally, how much is this costing us? One element we can just look at 30 years ago, we had 0 special ed teachers. Today, there's almost a standard requisition.
Right.
So there is a cost benefit in here when we're looking at is this actually causing any of this to happen in our community? Well, no, we can't say positively that it is, but there's so much circumstantial evidence, and we all have stories about cancer here. We also have stories about people who neurologically, they are not quite up to par. We're seeing increase of Down syndromes in town. There does seem to be an element here we need to be addressing, and it's community-wide, and it's not just isolated. It's across the entire community.
Right.
So one thing that can come out of this is, yes, we do have a problem here. We do see increased elements of this, increased incidence of neurological or behavioral concerns. Then we can start looking at, maybe we can use this data to support getting additional funding, because you cannot get funding unless you can prove something.
Right. Additional funding for the school system.
Additional funding.
One thing that I think it's awesome is that you can't solve the problem unless you recognize there is a problem, and it's individuals like you guys in this room, and Shai and Debbie and everybody else that are involved with this in so many different ways have brought this to the forefront. And 20 years ago, this would have never happened. And here we are now. We're making headway with Wilcox Engineering. We're getting studies out there. We're trying to turn the corner on this. And this is the next step in the process of finding out who all is affected by it and what we can do moving forward. Again, this is the Showalter Project, PCE Project Group. They are here recruiting. They need 110 children between the ages of 6 and 11 years old who live in the school district of Martinsville. They need participants, and that comes from you guys. My camera, I don't have a camera. You guys out there in Facebook land, in the city of Martinsville, in Morgan County, if you got relatives that live in the school district in here inside the city limits, get a hold of them, let them watch a show, get a hold of one of these gals or Tom or somebody and say, hey, my aunt lives over off of Poston and she's got 2 kids. I'm going to get her on to you guys and let the kids get studied. The test seems very easy. And for lack of better words, it's like doing a breathalyzer minus the alcohol and the auto involved. Not that I've had that done. So it's very simple test, and it could help your children and your family out moving forward.
I just saw where Wendy put a comment on here again. She was talking about the exposure from breast milk. So it's not necessarily inherited. It's not something that
They're born into.
that they're born with. It's the same as us drinking contaminated water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they'd be drinking contaminated breast milk, and that can accumulate in the system.
One other thing to remember too is that we are not the only community like this.
Right.
There are 53 Superfund sites in Indiana. And if you go to the EPA website, there are 401 sites of concern where you find the same chemicals being used. We also know one environmental remediation firm, they have done 113 sites in the state for PCE. So the study that we are doing, it's like the first time it's been done on low-level long-term exposures. So what we're doing here is something that we can take and lift up and help a lot of other communities, not only in Indiana, but this is nationwide.
Yeah.
So what we're doing here now is contributing to something that's going to benefit a whole lot of people and a whole lot of other communities that have been impacted.
That's right.
Wendy, I think by the term inherited means you give birth to a child and the child has it directly from the birth because you have it. Passing it through the milk is just like Bethany said, you're ingesting it through a liquid and then it's getting into your body. So
I think she has the idea. She's just using the wrong word.
Right. It's a slippery slope either way, but yeah, I don't. It's not inherited like that though. But you can't have it and have a child and then give it to them.
Right.
From what these individuals
they're
are telling
not
me.
born exposed.
We are exposing them.
Right. They're exposed after.
Right.
Well, we're all being exposed.
To some, to some degree.
Yeah, every one of us sitting in this room, if we did a breath test, are going to have measurable amounts of PCE in our system.
Yeah.
There might be other things in my breath too, but we'll just leave it at that.
So like Kevin said, you're hearing about this project now, maybe for the first time, second, third time. Tell everyone you know about the Facebook group. We'll put up that picture again here in a little bit where you can get the website. There is a link on that website to go straight to the online sign up. So whether you know if you live in a plume or not, that doesn't matter. You can use that online sign up. It'll take you through a few questions.
There's a picture, Beth.
Oh, thanks. So I don't have to.
Well, I'm here.
I don't have to.
No hands.
Yeah, okay. No hands. Okay.
Facebook group Martinsville or Purdue Martinsville PCE study.
Yeah, so there's a link at the Facebook group where it'll take you to the online sign up, or you can go to the web address and do the online sign up. It'll, like I said, it'll ask you a few questions. Super simple, super quick, and that'll kind of let us know and whether you're eligible or not. And if you kind of make it through that online sign up and are possibly eligible, then we will contact you. Yeah. We have a few more questions that go past that online sign up, and we hope that you can help us. And another fun thing, let's see. Gift card. Yeah. So for everyone who does complete this project with us, what are you pointing at, Kevin? Oh, can't hear me.
Well, you've got it down
Sorry.
below the level of the table. I couldn't understand that.
Okay.
I mean, it works better right in this.
So everyone who participates in this program, if you complete the assessments, all the assessments that we need you to complete for this project, you will be compensated. So there will be a gift card that you'll get to thank you for your time.
So if I do the study, I get something in return.
If you were eligible, which you are not, but if you were,
that's kind of harsh.
Yeah.
So they're here recruiting children between the ages of 6 and 11 years old. They need 110 kids that live in the school district of Martinsville. Parents, grandparents, get this information out. Get a hold of one of these individuals and have them take the test.
Now on every Saturday, I'm at the farmer's market. So you come out in person, you come see us there. But on The 17th of this month is the community days at the farmers market, and we will have 2 booths set up there. So be sure to come out there. There's going to be there's music, there's going to be food there, but we are going to have 2 booths there. And come by, and I will show you how to make electricity out of potato.
Can you eat the potato after you're done?
Yeah, and maybe if I get it done right, I'll show you how you can charge your phone from a potato.
I have seen
Nice.
This is
I have seen
science
that.
at work.
that. I have seen that.
This is science that you can really take home with you. And,
We're gonna do some
Lou
shuffling.
Yeah.
is also going to have.
And I plan to take my children come to community day to make a edible contaminated water plume with ice and ice cream for young kids. So you make a contaminated plume and you can eat it. Hope we can clean up all the contamination by doing that.
So we're shuffling some individuals around here. I don't know where Debbie went.
Oh, right
There she
here.
is.
I'm blocking her. Maybe we
hiding.
should switch seats. Maybe that's the way.
Oh, I think you're fine.
Uh-oh. Okay.
You're fine.
You're good.
All right.
You're good.
We can adjust the camera.
Make sure you're talking to the mic.
We're talking to the Showalter Project group, the PCE project group. They are here recruiting kids between the ages of 6 and 11 years old. They need 110 kids. Contact one of these individuals. They want to test them for PCE in their breath. And it's a very simple test. Get a hold of them, folks. And now we have 2 new individuals. And I'll let Debbie introduce them both.
Hi, I'm Deborah Corcoran. I'm also a member of the Showalter, but there wasn't enough chairs. And I've got
Blame the
Dr.
guy
Johnson
else.
with me. Dr. Johnson is an anthropologist from Purdue that will be helping on our second project.
I bet you both. I've worked some with you. Can you explain a little bit about what you're trying to do and what you could accomplish here, Doc? Can I call you Doc?
Sure, you can. I mean, I can go
I'm
by
like,
a variety
I'm like
of names.
Marty all of a sudden from Back to the Future.
I left
Doc.
I left my puffy vest at home.
Right?
Well, I'm feeling more Marty than Doc. but
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
appreciate it. Yeah. So as an anthropologist, we look at the broad context in which things are going on.
Okay.
So broadly, the team of us, of Debbie Corcoran, which we could not do this without, and Dr. Salu, and others at this table who have been really helpful, is to look at environmental quality and community health here broadly. So right now, there are 3 different ways to participate in that. It is vital that the Showalter Project have 110 young people for those components of this work. And there are other ways. Not all of us are between the ages of 9 and 11.
Six and 11.
6 and 11, excuse me.
6 and 11.
I'm definitely, I haven't been 6 for a while myself. You're not alone in that. But there's a short survey where you can share some information about health concerns or concerns about contamination. Hopefully, it doesn't take more than 5 to 10 minutes to complete. And that's one way to really share your experiences and concerns with us so we can continue to pursue that. So there's a short survey. On that short survey, there's an opportunity to sign up to share your information with us if you'd like to have a longer conversation. I mean, we realize that these issues are affecting real people in this community and in the state and throughout many places in the world. So we are interested in those human dynamics and the stories and lives that people care to share with us. So there's a survey, there's a conversation, and we are also testing private wells to get a sense of the extent of groundwater contamination beyond what we already know from the work with contractors at Twig and Harmon Becker and the EPA site and the O'Neill plume. So yeah.
So let me, I know how this came to pass because I know there's a lady sitting at this table that was involved with the program at Franklin, where it kind of started. And she, I'm giving her credit, got the ball rolling here in our community, and that's Debbie. I may be way off, but you're the first person that brought this up. And pounded the damn drum loud enough for people to hear it because I ignored you.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you came
All
to
of
me.
them did.
I mean, honest. I'm being dead serious.
Yeah, that's all
And she'll
right.
tell you I've done that on stuff she wants to do, and I'll
Yeah.
ignore her, and all of a sudden she'll
Always.
hit me in the back of the head. But I mean, you came to me a few times, but you now know you had to really put it in their face to show what was going on.
Yeah.
And I give you kudos for doing what you, because this has been a long battle for you.
Yeah.
And I won't get into specifics why, but you're the first individual that brought this to the community. Now, and I know I can hear our viewers out there going, what brings you others here? If we got Purdue, we got docs, we've got individuals, what made you come here to more? First of all, I'm going to say this, and I never shy away from ticking some people off, but in my opinion, there's a reason why we have a cancer center right here in Morgan County.
Absolutely.
And we don't have a true hospital, but we have a cancer center,
Absolutely.
which was the last place I saw both my parents alive. Not the center, but over there. You know what I mean? So that speaks volumes to me, and the response that I got from one individual was like, well, because you have so many people with cancer, that's why you have a cancer center. I stopped it there and I wanted to walk away. So now what attracts some very extremely intelligent people from across our state to come here and jump feet first into an issue at Martinsville? Can we answer that?
How would you like to start?
Yes, of course. And I think this contamination issue going on for so many years and at so many places. And Debbie and Jennifer and Tom and I were at a federal EPA webinar yesterday. And EPA has started in the past 5 years look at PCE, TCE contamination issues on the context of environmental justice issue. And however, when they look at environmental justice issue, they have a long list. They evaluate 54 activities and conclude 52 out of 54 had unreasonable risks to workers, consumers, but they didn't say community members, for communities under impact. I think our work can shed light on this, bring the impact community to the front line, and by two things. One is collect solid data, like what we do in Showalter Project, and part of this Robert Wood Johnson. By the way, the project we are doing is funded by Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Interdisciplinary Research Leaders Program. And Dr. Johnson, Debbie, and I are co-project directors, and Tom Wallace is our senior community advisor. And we have multiple components in this project. One is test well water and find how well and groundwater being impacted by contamination beyond what agencies have done. And the other part, more unique part, is to discover people's story and made the story heard by others. I think this go hand in hand. The solid data and the storytelling are the approaches we are going to take to change the regulations, change policies, let people work together to face the challenge and come up with innovative strategies to clean up these contaminations.
Thank you, Dr. South.
All right. Yeah, you asked an incredibly important question, Kevin, and I appreciate it.
That's two profound statements I've made in the last month.
I'm sure there are more. I don't know. All of them are
I could be
documented.
a Rhodes Scholar here before the night's over.
Absolutely.
So anyway.
So, I mean, I should say, as an anthropologist, absolutely fundamental to my worldview is that you don't need to have a degree to have real, valid knowledge in this world. It doesn't mean that I'm smarter than you.
I'm glad we came to that determination.
I might only say something profound like once every 6 months. But please don't tell that to my employer. Anyway, so I grew up in Ohio, and I spent a lot of time on Lake Erie as a kid. And I saw the oil slicks on top of the water. I also saw transformations around zebra mussels and all kinds of cool stuff. But I thought, and you would see big factories in Cleveland and blowing off smoke. And so this relation between humans and our environment, I really came to see them as not separate. I mean, we are living within an environment. We are shaping it. It is shaping us. Somehow I ended up doing like a decade-long project on fisheries in Uganda around Lake Victoria. And there, what really interested me were some of the alternative information. I want to be gentle and kind to scientists, but there are limits to scientific knowledge. As we described, right? It took a long time for science to catch up to what people already knew. Mm-hmm. And things that we can't see, smell, understand through our senses, like something like PCE. Okay, you can smell it as sweet if it's in really high kinds of concentrations. Those challenge us. So those things are really, really interesting to me. And so when I came to Purdue University, I started there in the fall of 2015. 2015.
So you were a freshman in 2015, is what you're saying?
That's right. Well, I was teaching freshmen in 2015. Right. I came there as an assistant professor. Hopefully there'll be a promotion someday. But I'm enjoying it. And I worked with a student in the eastern part of the state who was studying organic farming because people in her small community were experiencing incredibly high rates of cancer. So a woman wanted to convert her fields to organic corn because her husband died of really rare forms of stomach cancer that they're attributing to pesticides and herbicides. So it started to open my eyes about how many communities outside of like dense cities or urban centers, how these are also sites of what we could call environmental injustice. And they're largely left out of the conversation about exposures to toxic chemicals and so on. And also places that are just so vital. I mean, people deserve to have clean air to breathe and water to drink. And
I think we all would agree with that.
Yeah, good. It's a non-controversial statement.
Yeah, that's a pretty safe statement.
And yet here we are.
Right.
Like, I live in Indianapolis now, which is another reason that after I met Debbie, Saw invited me to join for the project. Mm-hmm. And I met Debbie and Tom. And we hit it off so quickly. Yeah. And I'm like, this is a place that I want to get to know and spend time. But yeah, Indianapolis, we have worse air quality there than Los Angeles.
Yeah. Wow. Well, as a community member of this city, I thank you all for coming here to work with us, from Indy, from Purdue, and parts all over. I know there's others involved too. Dr. Sal had posted pictures of people back at Purdue University, which is really cool to think that we have so many out there fighting for us. Like I said, we can't solve the problem until we say there's a problem. And I think that was the toughest part for this community as a whole to get to that point. And now that we are, and things like this are happening, it's a good deal. And sorry to interrupt.
No, I was just going to say that sounds like the third profound thing.
No, that was kind of average. That was kind of weak. I was stumbling through it. I wasn't as crisp.
I want to add something to that on the private wells that we're going to be testing. Even if you're using a private well in the city of Martinsville, just for watering your garden or, watering your flower beds, let us test them. Let us make sure it's okay. Because if you have a grandson or granddaughter that's coming up and drinking out of that hose, those flowers, you might not want to let them do that if it comes up that it's contaminated.
I want to ask this.
If they retired it altogether, if there's a way to get the pump turned on, we could still test it.
I want to ask this, and I know others have thought of this. Let's say I don't drink the water. I buy bottled water, or I have filtered water or whatever. So I'm not drinking the water directly from the spigot to my body. But yet I swim in it, I bathe in it, I wash my vegetables in it. I wash my pets in it. Oh yeah, can it affect pets also? And
Absolutely.
is there am I damaging myself by using, and I don't want to say our water's hurting us, because I think, like Dr. Sal said, it's more the vapor intrusion that is causing, believe, the most damage. But could it be part of the problem? Bathing in it, things like that.
Well, our bodies are a sponge. Our bodies are a sponge, so
It's like SpongeBob.
yeah, we're like SpongeBob. We're
Yeah.
porous. We take all that in, and if it's not, filtrated, and they're in a home that's using well water still as their primary source of water, we don't know what they're affected
Yes,
by.
and more specific, I meant well waters like that.
Yeah.
Not saying
city
the city.
water.
Yeah, the city's
Well water,
controlling what we need.
we need to test those wells and make sure they are safe, and get them hooked up to city water. I mean, there's
So,
ways to
Kevin-
do this.
Kevin, you asked, thank you, Debbie. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And Kevin, I think you asked a fundamental question, which is how we define risk and unacceptable risk. Risk is everywhere in our life. And I like to quote Dr. Tim Adams' sentence. He said, there is no risk after you died. So we live here, we are exposed to all the different kind of things. We all have contaminations in our body,
Sure.
PFAS and
Due to
lead
different-
and
yeah.
mercury. And we are all, I can share this. We have a Purdue volunteer serve as controls, and we detect PCE in people from Purdue not working in the lab. So what is an acceptable risk? What is unacceptable risk? Is a challenging question. I do not have an answer for that, but it also depending on people, whether you belong to vulnerable group, susceptible group, children in the growth time window, and elderly, and people with medical conditions. So that's all different. We have to look into this using pretty complex risk assessment tools to analyze that. Come back to what Debbie just said. Let us sign up, let us test your well. And we are gathering data. We are putting data together. Hopefully we can answer part of question bit by bit.
Thank you, Dr. Sal.
And so also in the chat, there's a link for a place to sign up for well testing, and also that short survey. Because also, I mean, one point I wanted to make is that we could, because of the way groundwater moves, because of the way contaminants move, there could be very low exposures right now in this moment. But in the past, they could have been really high.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a hydrologist, but I imagine that things get stirred up when there are big storms, when there are flooding events in 2008, for example. And so there are ways that people could have been also exposed to high levels in the past before we knew the we is like everybody, but before this was something that people were paying attention to.
So they pay people to study water, hydrologists.
They must.
I just kind of
do.
breaking that down.
Yeah. Yes. Water scientist.
Right.
On the underneath, there's probably many different kinds of.
Well,
water.
we are above a pretty massive water system here in central Indiana. And, you never know. And I think the Wilcox Company has done wonders with that. Wilcox Engineering with their way to defeat one of the plumes. And hopefully moving forward, we will.
So, Kevin, I want to add on to what people just discussed. This project is similar to Showalter Project. It's going to be, this is even more community engaged research, and we really want community members to get engaged, involved, as well as city, local officials, and different organizations group in community. That's why this group, even we form this group as a Showalter Project Task Force, but this group people are going to be involved in this second project. And also Tom, as our senior community advisor, is going to work with you and other people to make our data useful, how our data can be really used by agencies, local officials, and community members to be useful, to make changes. And maybe Tom can talk a little bit how this data, anticipated data, can be used by community.
Can I interrupt for one thing? Because this, I'm sure there's someone out there. You guys aren't making a dime off this, are you? Not a penny, correct? So you're doing this out of the kindness. I know you get paid for your job, but you're doing this out of the kindness of your hearts on our community. So I just didn't want someone come up to me later, because it happens.
We have grant money.
You know what I
paying
you
for
know what I
this.
mean? But I mean,
Yeah.
they're doing it for a dime. They're doing it for this or that. But this is grant money and things like this. And the only reason that money's there is because guess what? There's an issue.
Yeah.
If there wasn't an issue, that grant money wouldn't be there. None of
be
you
there at
people would be
all.
in here tonight, and I'd probably be a bed already.
Because they've put a lot of time and energy going after those grants.
Sure. Yes. And thankful for that.
Definitely.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Doc.
Yeah, Kevin is correct, and there has to be issue. Otherwise, no matter how hard we work, we cannot make the story. We cannot write grant proposal if there is no issue, and agency won't fund us.
Right.
And what's better is that the EPA is looking at this chemical now.
Right.
So that's helping us too as well, because they want more results coming in to find out what is going on with this chemical. Tom.
I won't interrupt you this time, Tom.
What was the question?
How this project can generate useful data be used by community.
What, the Robert Wood Johnson one?
Too many projects, Tom.
Yeah,
We all share the same goals, fundamentally.
yeah, you have to, our concept is it's very comprehensive because there's too many elements, that all affect one another and they're all related. You can't separate one and let it as a standalone issue. It just won't work. We, as a community, we all interact together. That's what makes a community. That's what moves our society and everything forward when we have community engagement and community interaction. So when we're looking at the data that we're gathering from here, let's go back to the water wells. The city did put out a moratorium that there will not be any new wells drilled in Martinsville. When they were doing that, they were discussing actually closing down all existing private wells, which means that if you did have a dry well that you're using for irrigation or for any other purposes other than for any purposes at all, you would have to close that down. Well, that didn't get done. There was just no new ones. So there are a lot of existing private water wells in town. There are data will show, is your well safe to be used? How is it directly associated or linked to any one of these plumes? In some of the areas where we have water wells, they are not within either one of these plumes, but they're in an intermediate zone. If we find a well there that is outside one of these plumes and it is contaminated, do we know that those boundaries of those plumes are wrong and that they have commingled and that they have expanded, and that the funding that should be going into taking care of these other contaminated areas should be going back to the responsible parties, because that's the issue we have. Who are the responsible parties for paying for all of this? And a lot of them just aren't here anymore, and that's why the taxpayers are picking up the money, and why some of the private industries here that are paying for it are constantly fighting to get out of it. And in this last legislative session in Indiana, there was a bill passed that did allow 2 of the contractors here in town to try and file to get out of doing any further work by putting in foreclosure plan based upon a limited amount of risk assessments, and the city said no, and so that was thrown out. So the data that we're getting is going to show that we have more of a comprehensive problem than what we think, that the footprints are arbitrary. The people who are not living in there may be contaminated as well due to groundwater and vapor intrusion. Now, when we do this, like Saul said, all this data helps regulatory with the EPA. For example, the regulations for PCE and TCE are being under review right now to be brought up to a higher level of control, particularly PCE. So the only reason that happens is community engagement, community involvement, and groups like us getting together and saying, we have this problem and we have identified it. And the difference is that we have come together as a cohort with academia, with researchers, and with community people. And this is something new. This is a different type of process. So what we're doing here is also establishing a foundational basis how other communities across the country can work to handle their own situations and grasp control what's happening to them. Because so many times they say, how did this happen to us? Why did it happen to us? Who's responsible? Maybe you don't know where to go and you have no questions, no answers. You suddenly don't even know what question to ask.
And see, we could take this project to other towns too. And that's what our intention is. This is just the start.
Because the more we build coalitions around this, the more we are aware of this in multiple communities, the more able we are as people to be able to advocate for our rights to have something fixed.
And help them advocate for themselves.
That's right. I mean, I almost wanted to say, can we bring up the elephant in the room, which is the EPA? I mean, I know a lot of people are skeptical about the EPA. I have beefs with the EPA. They haven't updated in over 20 years what they're testing for in our drinking water. And meanwhile, chemical companies are making amazing chemicals, and we don't know how they're affecting us. And they're not even being tested for. Sorry, I simmer down. Okay. See, I'm a little passionate about this. So what I
have
need
to tone that down just a skosh.
Sorry, I get really passionate about this work.
No, I feel your passion. I'm with you 100% on that. But
like it or
it's a
not,
family show, and I didn't know what direction you were
no,
headed.
that's I mean that's the extent of my rage there. I'm gonna contain.
Only we're allowed to say swear words late at night. So,
Okay,
anyway.
no, I'm going to keep it very, very PG Disney friendly.
Thank you.
I mean, like it or not, our tax dollars are funding groups like the EPA and the Indiana Department of Environmental Management.
But I mean, they still serve a purpose, and they
Yes.
do some fantastic things across the country.
Sure.
And I mean, are they missing the target on this one? Who knows? Like everybody said,
We aim to find out.
There's no. It takes 30 years from now. We can look back and go, yeah, hell, I did miss it, or no, they were spot on. So I mean, it's hard to say it's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
It's the target that you want to put your rage at, because we really can't pinpoint it on that yet. But this is the start of getting that information together.
Absolutely. And the more people the EPA hears from, the more people the state hears from,
Right?
saying, I'm concerned about this, then they have to take it seriously.
Because the only reason why I even said anything like that is because since the get-go, when the EPA was brought in, they have been very open. Hey, we're going to do A, B, and C. You may not like it, but this is we have to take this path because of red tape around us, what we can do, and we're going to march to this beat. And when we get to this point, we're going to communicate with you and show you. And they've been pretty good with that. So I mean, they haven't. I don't think they've been as transparent as we like, but I think there's a reason why they cannot be on some areas. But I think they've been more than helpful.
And I want to say the folks we've been working with at the EPA, who are working on the Martinsville Superfund site, have been lovely to work with. My critiques are more at the institution overall, but they work for us.
That's
So
that's
I'm committed
Dr.
to
Johnson
making-
that's saying that,
Yes.
not me. If you're listening, it's Dr. Johnson.
Oh, they're going to be tracking this when I apply for a grant from them someday. But we'll see. That's all right.
That's
Yeah,
not the
I
host
would
of the
like
show.
to. I would like to add on. This is Dr. Liu.
It is Dr. Lou over there on camera 4. This
Um,
We should
right
do
here's
a
Dr. Johnson.
recap real quick on the 2 projects that we're hearing.
Right, real
Yeah.
quick,
tonight
folks.
before
That
we close out-
there-
close
there's
it out.
two things we're definitely hitting hard tonight. One is they need children, 110 children between the ages of 6 and 11 years old, to do a study on that live in the school district of Martinsville. It is for the exhale of their breath. It's a quick test. Stephanie already had her kids tested. They did find some.
Not for this research project.
Right.
Not for this. This was preliminary that we tested her.
Okay, yes, but I mean, she's had the test.
Yes, she
Whether
has.
it was for this research project or whatever, her children have had the test. I'm just saying that and your kids were fine and they didn't have an issue with it, correct?
Right.
So that's something to build off of if there's parents out there concerned with that. And then the other thing they're hitting tonight is the actual wells, not the city water, actual wells in the city limits, in and around the city limits. If you're on a well, get a hold of these folks. They want to test your water. Am I correct?
In city limits.
In the city limits. And I know there's some out there. As a former real estate agent, I'm pretty sure I remember hearing the stories.
I want to add, thank you, Kevin. Resounding our main theme. So thank you so much.
You told me that was your theme tonight, and you threatened me with violence.
EPA, and we do have communication with EPA, pretty open communication, trying to build a positive, healthy working relationship with EPA so we can better communicate EPA agencies and researchers work hand in hand to solve the issue. And we are going to test children only this time, and only being able to test 110 children and their homes potential. However, EPA is going to test vapor intrusion on EPA Superfund side. Later summer, they are going to do door knocking, recruit to test over 200 homes on Superfund side, and we have communication with them to help them. We are going to pass out EPA flyers, fact sheets when we do door knocking. So this is about EPA, and we do include special education children. I want to respond on that comment. And for the water testing, we are going to post the water testing sign up survey on our Facebook group tomorrow. And for people being willing to get their wells sign up, visit our Facebook page and go to RT Fest on Saturday, or visiting farmers market, talk to people, task force members, Tom Wallace and others at farmers market. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the reminder of ArtyFest. I'm very excited for that.
I'm excited.
If you're out there, you're hot, you're going to be getting thirsty, we're going to have free bottled water. Hey, very on brand for us. Yes, so sign up for kids. Well, sign up. We also have a short survey. Say, for example, you don't have a private well or a kid who's between the ages of 6 and 11. Your experiences and concerns still matter. Yeah. And we want to hear from you. And so if you want to stop by and chat with us, we're going to be there. And many people at this table have also been in the farmers markets on Saturday, and that is a really fun time. If you haven't been out there, check it out.
I was there last weekend, and I went live, and you guys were busy. That's why I did not interrupt. I don't think you were there yet.
She wasn't there yet.
I think
I was
Tom
there.
and Debbie were there. And
yeah.
there was people around your booth.
Bill was there.
So I don't like busting into there like that, though. So farmers market's a fun place.
It is fun.
They got good food.
They do.
Good honey, too.
Oh, yeah.
Good honey, I'm going to say. So.
And shea butter.
All right.
And cookies.
Does anybody have anything else to add on the conversation before we wrap this up?
I'd like to thank you for having us on.
Thank you.
And Bethany, too. Thank you so much.
I enjoy it.
It's so important. And you're such an incredible resource for this community.
Well, thank you.
I'm so impressed with all the ways that you use this to help.
It's easy when you work with good people that are focused on the same goals that you are.
Amen.
And when you got Beth and Dean and Corey and Billy and many others that nobody knows about that contact us. And well, take for instance that young lady right there. I can say, hey, we're doing something to save the four-legged toad in Guatemala. And next thing I'll get a text from Teresa, how much money you need or what can I do to help? And I'm like, I was kidding. I was kidding. But I mean, that is how it goes. We could pop on here at midnight and say, hey, being serious, hey, we've got a friend that needs help. For instance, two things come to mind, and these are things that are near and dear to me. We helped a young lady that needed a car. She was a single mom. She worked her ass off and had no way to get to work, and she had kids, and so she needed an automobile. These people raised her money to buy a car in less than 1 day.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't a great car, but they got her a car.
Yeah.
There was a gal that her daughter needed and I'm going to mess it up, but it was out of Bradford Woods. It was a therapy, and it was a minimal fee, but she didn't have the money.
Yeah.
And she came in and asked us, and we threw it out there, and in less than no time, that was taken care of. So we're sure we're the avenue, but those people out there on Facebook in this community are the ones that will make it happen. So
I
anyway,
love this community.
that is awesome.
And I'm not
that's
from
stuff
here.
like there's stuff like that happens that I will not mention that goes on. And there's a few people like that gal back there that you'll never see it online. There, I may text them and say, "Hey, I need your help on something." And I've done that a few times, especially when I was doing the toy drive. I always had a list of people that I know were going to help, and then I had a list over here. It's like, when you're in trouble, message these people, and I could message any one of them at any given time. I could message them at an hour before Christmas and say, "Hey, I need your help," and they're going to pull through and get it. That's what this community is made of. That's why stuff like this is important to me, because I'm from here. I love these people in the community. I love my community, and I want to do what I can help. Some of this, let's be honest, it's boring to me. It is what it is. It's
Not until
my
it
cup of
affects
tea.
you.
But you know what? If we're saving lives,
Amen.
so what if it's boring to me? You know,
Amen.
be unboring and enjoy it, and get through it and put it out there for people. So, is what it is. Anything else?
Yeah, we want to.
Oh,
Not on camera though.
Sal, go for it.
Yes, we want to shout out big thanks to city and the school district supporting our studies, and we need more help.
Yeah, so if you are,
What are you doing
I don't
with
know,
the-
I'm trying to get it out of
I'm not worried about it.
I mean, the mic does not work down there, Beth.
No, if this is interesting to you, if you are interested in helping your community and helping communities around the world, really, by working with on these research projects, we need more help. We need more people to join our teams, and we need more people to be walking this town,
Talking to people,
doors.
knocking the doors.
Yeah. So yeah, we are looking for more people to help.
That was going to be my last statement, was to ask if somebody would be involved with the program, whether it be as a participant or someone that wants to come with you and help do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
How does that happen? Tell us how they get a hold of you.
Obviously, if you're watching this, you probably have a Facebook account. So we have a Facebook group. Kevin just put the picture up.
Ding.
It's Purdue Martinsville PCE study, and it's a public group on Facebook. You can message us there. You probably got a flyer with your utility bill in June that has an email address on it. You can reach us there. We have the website there, www.pceh.net, and contact us there. Just let us know.
And every Thursday you guys do a Zoom meeting.
Yes, we meet every Thursday at 8:00 through Zoom. So it's super easy, whether you're home and on a desktop or out and about with your phone. Every Thursday, 8:00.
It's an open forum. Just drop in and listen to the meeting and raise questions, and we will address your questions. And also feel free to send email to me. It's just my name, Liu at Purdue EDU. And Debbie, you can reach out to other task force members and send email to Debbie, our project fellow, and Dr. Johnson. So contact anyone in this room, and including Kevin. You can also contact Kevin to reach us.
I get enough people that contact me for other things. Trust me.
Get a hold of Kevin, and then he'll get a hold of me, and then I'll get a hold of Saw, and then
Yep.
Or me.
we will get you on.
Forward, Beth. Done. Bethany is a godsend for our group, and we appreciate all she does for us. She knows that. I give her a hard time, but I'll tell a story and embarrass you completely. Met her during a political event and hit it off real well. Somehow reeled her in. Next thing you know, she's, "Hey, I'll jump on porch time." And
No, I said, "Do you happen to need some help?"
Yeah, I think it was her and my brother that said, "Dude, you need to let go of some of the responsibilities," because I was on the
Need some
verge
help
of
with organization.
I was on the verge of choking a few people out, but this is another story. So Beth jumped on, and she is just amazing and does so much for the community, for the baby box for one, right off the bat.
Yeah.
And so things like that, and she just keeps growing, and and she's a shooting star in the community, and we're lucky that she is part of our Porch Time family. So, that being said, thank you all so much for coming in tonight. I appreciate it. Our community appreciates it. And like I said, and I will dominate the camera here. Guys, if you watch this tonight, you have family members or kids or anybody that they could study, get a hold of Beth, get a hold of one of these gals or in here tonight. Yeah, Dr. Tom, anybody. This stuff's vital. And it's not going to go away until we get it all cleaned up and all the studies are done. So you're going to keep hearing it. I'm going to keep having stuff like this on. There's two things that we've pushed, I bet you 20 shows on and then about 10 shows of this on, is the drug issue in this community and the ground issue, the water issue. We're not going to stop. We're going to keep going with that as long as it's an issue in our community. This is home to us. We love it. We want it right. So with that being said, get a hold of these folks, 6 to 11-year-old children, the 110, just a quick test, non-invasive. Get that taken care of. They're at Artie Fest. They're at the fair. They're going to be knocking on doors. They're also going to be looking into studying wells here in the community, actual wells. If you are on a well in this community, get a hold of them. They want to test your water. Even if it's a well that's you've not been used for a while, they want to test the water in there. So with that being said, thank you all so much. We're going to end the program. And we will see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.